Welcome to Dropped In, Carly. I feel so honored to share you with our Dropped In community.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. So, Carly, can you share with our community who you are and what you do and why you are so passionate about the work that you do?
My name's Carly Carey. I live in Nanaimo, which is a mid-sized town or a small city. I'm a three-time cancer survivor. I was most recently diagnosed with cancer on my birthday in Japan via Google Translate. So it's kind of a wild story. And that was last January 1st. So it's been a little over a year since my diagnosis. And the diagnosis that I got was for a lymphoma that is very rare and aggressive. And the average lifespan is usually about 5 to 7 years. To further complicate that, I was also in a rare one in several million chance diagnosed with leukemia concurrently with a lymphoma. And that's really rare to have two cancers at once. But that's like the least interesting thing about me. I also am a realtor and I run a real estate team here in Nanaimo. I love friends and family and swimming. I'm married. I have dogs. I have a full life that's been a little bit shifted since my diagnosis. So what makes then I'm kind of jumping right into it, but that's my bio. And I was just about to explain like why where I live is so important to the story. But
Yes, please do. I already have shivers.
so um being in a small city, living on an island at the very west coast point of Canada is such a privilege and so beautiful, but it comes with challenges in terms of healthcare. We're not rural per se, but we have a hospital that's really old, literally falling down. The last time I was there was actual duct tape on the walls. It was insane.
Wow.
Um, and the nearest place to receive radiation treatment for cancer is either Victoria, which is about a 2-hour drive away, or we also have a cancer clinic in Nanaimo that administers chemotherapy only. So Vancouver Island is sprawling. It's not heavily populated, but it is geographically about the same size as Denmark. And so to drive from our furthest and northern end of Vancouver Island, which is like Port Hardy, say, to Nanaimo, that's roughly 5 to 6 hours. And if the conditions are bad, you're not coming.
Mhm.
The challenge for people who get sick outside of Nanaimo is incredibly hard to even understand. It's grueling physically, emotionally, and financially. And so when I was in the chemo ward this summer, losing all my hair, getting my life-saving treatment, my husband and I talked a lot with other people there. And I also remember the first time that I had cancer and we had to travel to Victoria for radiation. And I kept telling him, we're so lucky to live 8 minutes away from the hospital. You have no idea. And from there, Carly's house was born. And that's kind of my new passion. And Carly's house is a house we're building here in Nanaimo for patients to stay free of charge while they're receiving treatment in Nanaimo.
Hmm. I'm going to zoom out a little bit if that's okay with you,
Yeah,
Carly.
I kind of threw a lot at you
No.
all in one. So yeah, let's just go with that.
No, I am here and ready, and I just wanna take a minute to acknowledge you. Your heart is like none other, and for you to be navigating what you're navigating behind the scenes, and for you to pour into our community, and to build Carly's house, and to be such an incredible advocate for our hospital and the foundation, and I understand you're hosting, like, monthly groups for individuals who are also navigating cancer. Your heart is like none other, and I don't know how you do it. I truly do, I think for most of us that are in business, entrepreneurs, I know you're a realtor, we're just so focused on the day-to-day and all that goes with that, and then to throw in 2 different diagnoses into the equation, and for you to be able to show up the way that you are is like none other. So, I just wanna acknowledge you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Mhm. Truly, it's you are a gift to our community here, so if we can zoom out a little bit further, so I understand I've heard your story, and I've been a part of, the soiree um, the Nanaimo Foundation, Hospital Foundation, and being a huge advocate for that as well. You were diagnosed in Japan. Can you share what that story like, that part of the story for us, what that looked like, what that felt like?
Yeah, it was a wild ride. So we were in Japan for that week after Christmas, but before school gets back. So we left Boxing Day and we were due to come back on the 3rd of January. And it's an annual family trip we take with my husband and my bonus daughter. And this year was extra special because it was her grade 12 year, so her graduating year. And we decided to bring her friend as well because we sort of decided it would probably be our last kind of family vacation because then the bonus daughter was off to uni and all that good stuff. We arrive in Japan, and I had not been feeling good for a long time, but I am a very youthful mid 40s lady. And so I attributed a lot of the symptoms to perimenopause. So I didn't really give it a lot of thought. The jet lag was really hitting me. I wasn't sleeping that well. It's all very explainable stuff away. So we had been in Japan for maybe a day when I started to not feel well at all. I had a really extremely painful stomach pain that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Like it wasn't food poisoning, it wasn't, the flu. I couldn't put my finger on it. And, but I just decided to go with it and not seek help because figured it would pass. And I was like breathing through the pain. At one point, I asked my husband if I could get my own hotel room because we were sleeping in a ryokan. So we were all sleeping on the floor together. And I was being so noisy because I was in so much pain. Looking back, it's like insane how I didn't listen to myself for so long. I'm not saying that with judgment, just acknowledging that as humans, I was gonna say as women, but even as humans, we get into this space of just carrying on and fighting through. And I just am acknowledging that piece. So, my husband calls a doctor. They send an ambulance. I'm mortified. I refuse to get on the stretcher, and I walk out of the hotel into the ambulance. And then what was so interesting is we arrived, so it's the day before New Year's, we arrive to the emergency room around 11 at night, where the hospital is quiet. The lights are off. We're greeted by 2 people, I don't know if they're nurses or doctors. We were brought immediately into a room. They could see I was in pain. They had me on morphine within 30 minutes before they even tested me for anything. That is notable because that is very different than our system here.
Mhm.
I did not go into a waiting room.
Wow.
I don't speak Japanese. I just wanna let you know that, and the reason why I mention that is because, Japan is very insular in their culture, and Japanese is their primary language, meaning most people don't speak a second language. So I'm navigating the medical system now via Google Translate. When
Wow.
they do some tests, they send me to a bigger hospital, and at the bigger hospital, they decided they needed to send me in for surgery. So I go in for surgery. It's a teaching hospital, so I'm laying down. We've navigated all this by typing
Oh my
out
goodness.
on Google Chat, going back and forth, making big decisions about this,
Wow.
hoping that, Google Translate is correct. I'm in a OR now, and the last thing I remember looking up is I had a circle of doctors and attendants and nurses all around me, patting me, saying something to me, and I drifted off.
Mm.
I woke up and one of the nurses came over and brought me an origami crane and said, "Happy birthday. It's your birthday."
Oh my goodness.
I got brought into a private room, and that is where I was diagnosed with cancer via Google Translate.
Oh my goodness, Carly.
Mhm.
Whew. First and foremost, the level of trust that you must have had in Google Translate and in this hospital setting to go into the OR and have a surgery. I can't even imagine what that must have felt like.
Was it trust or was it morphine? We'll never know.
Fair enough, fair enough. and then waking up, with this crane and then this diagnosis. What was that journey like for you?
It gave me a lot of clarity. I had started a new team in real estate for about a year before my diagnosis, and I was really struggling, to be honest. The learning curve was so huge. I may have been ill-fitted for some of the aspects of the role that I took on. We had some issues with fit and hires, and it was so hard, and it wasn't in really nothing was really in alignment. Nothing felt good. Nothing felt easy. It was the definition of swimming upstream for an entire year. And when I got the diagnosis, and it's a mix of shock and clarity. I just remember immediately thinking, I want to have more Sunday dinners with my family.
Mhm.
I want to deepen my connection with my husband, and I wanna give back to my community.
Mm,
And those were, like, the first real things that came up for me.
my goodness. My goodness. And now here you are.
And from there, everything shifted into place. It's actually been a really beautiful experience. The 2 weeks I spent in the hospital in Japan, the hospital was never full.
Mm,
There was no one ever in a hallway on a stretcher. It was always quiet. It was so dignified and peaceful. I was only allowed to have visitors for 30 minutes a day, so I spent almost the whole 2 weeks alone and without anyone who could speak my language, and I couldn't speak their language. And it turned into like a silent retreat. And I meditated a lot. I cried a lot. I had some hard moments, of course, but it really gave me this opportunity to have a real reset in my life and start asking myself, okay, like if I only have a few years to live or whatever that looks like, I want to enjoy every day. And how do I make every day meaningful and joyful and ease? And I want to start swimming down the river. And that is where really a lot of my decision making came from over this last year and a bit.
mhm. Wow, my goodness. I couldn't imagine being in a space. I mean, people go on Vipassana for 7, 14, 21 days, and they're in silence and all that, and they also don't have a diagnosis, and sitting with that in and of itself. So I can imagine what that was like for you and, the therapy that came with that in and of itself. And here you are, 3 and so that was 3 years ago?
No, that was a year ago January,
Oh,
and
a
we're in
year ago.
March.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is like pretty fresh still.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
And so you've come back, and can you share with us your vision and mission behind Carly's House and obviously the why behind it?
Carly's house is so cool, okay? Because I have this really amazing husband who just has this amazing ability to bring ideas to life. And so he was my number one supporter and caretaker through all of this. We've actually known each other since we were about 8 or 9 years old. So he remembers and was there with me the first time I had cancer as well. Um, Carly's house was really born. There's this one story about a man who lives in Port Hardy who did chemotherapy, but decided that it was too expensive and, cumbersome to drive to radiation in Victoria, and that really struck us, and even though I'm sick, I'm still walk through the world with so much privilege. So, the mission of Carly's House is that there should be no barriers to seeking medical help or receiving medical help.
Mm,
I We want everyone to be able to come to a home that feels warm and cozy and safe and community orientated while they're going through one of the hardest times of their life. So we purchased a home coincidentally and we put it in our holding company and we were going to rent it out as a rental property. That's how this started because my and my husband are both in real estate. But then we decided to pivot and actually donate the use of it for cancer patients in our local hospital. So it does need some renovations, and we are looking for donations because there's certain things that we want to do or we need to do to make it appropriate for multi families to stay in the home, which is like a toilet and sink in every room for their dignity and cleanliness. And the house is just older, so it needs lots of renovation. So right now, we're on this big campaign to get donations. We're having the community show up. We have Norm's Plumbing who's donated. We've had Westland Insurance, just to name a few. I had a client of mine whose father donated a portion of his estate when he passed to the hospital foundation, and she directed those funds to Carly's house, which is really cool because you can donate through the hospital foundation to Carly's house.
Okay.
So that's kind of how that works. It was a little bit long winded, so I'm sorry about
No,
that. I hope that
no, give us all the juice. I
answers
saw that post on Instagram. I was like, wow, like talk about legacy, you know?
Yeah, and it's a big deal legacy because we do plan on doing a ribbon cutting and we are going to be getting plaques and putting them on Carly's house somewhere, either on the front or in the house, acknowledging all the people who've come together to donate. And they will be honored. In my heart, they'll be honored, and publicly, they'll be honored. And of course, if someone wanted to do it anonymously, that is totally fine too. You
Mm,
know what I think is so special though about donating bravely and openly, if you can find the comfort to do that? It inspires other people to donate. It raises awareness about the projects we have going on in the community. And I think for a long time I struggled with doing private donations or private volunteering because I didn't want it to be seen that I was doing this for personal gain. And I've totally gone 360 on that one because I realize now that it's way, way more important to have conversations like this about the
mhm.
good that we are doing collectively in our community because it then inspires people to do good. It teaches people it's okay to do good. It shows people how we can find the time or the resources to put into our community if otherwise we didn't think we could. I think it's really important to share when you do something good. It's just so cool when you do it too. Like I love hearing about it.
I couldn't agree more. I have always been one behind the scenes to donate or to give of my time anonymously. And my husband and I have been attending the soiree by the sea for years now, and just love attending it. We'll be there again this year. Um, but when there was my husband's mom spent a lot of time in ICU. She was on life support 2 different times. And we were spending a lot of time in the hospital, so I can attest to what our hospital looks like, and, there was a time when we were raising money for the maternity ward to purchase beds, and all of our friends were purchasing these beds, and so my husband and I decided to buy a bed as well, and it was just, like, such a beautiful moment because oftentimes we don't show up and say, "This is what we've done," but it's the ripple, right? When you see other people doing it and you are able to do it yourself as well, it's such a beautiful thing to contribute to our community, so I agree with everything you shared there.
Yeah, and that was a beautiful campaign. I remember that one. What is more joyful than donating to new parents who are having children? Like it's such a cool way to, show gratitude for the community that we get to live in. I love that story.
Mhm. 100%, 100%. So, how many rooms are in Carly's house, and how much more do we need to bring forth to hit your goal?
So Carly's house is a two-bedroom house with a large great room that's separated and a large kitchen with really bright windows. It has a little bit of an ocean view, which I love that. And so we're gonna kind of play it out a little bit right now. We have it as the two bedrooms only, but I think if there was need and overflow, we're prepared to separate the great room as somewhere where people could sleep as well. We don't want to overcrowd it, but I'm also being cognizant of like larger families that may come. So maybe we have a couch that folds out and things like that. Because for some people, spiritually and religiously healing with their family is really important. So we just want to be aware of the different levels of groups that are coming in and alternatively you could have one person or couple in one of the bedrooms and then another in the other and then you do have this really great space to have common area, which is the living room and kitchen. And so the numbers, I'm not really the numbers person. My husband takes care of that, but I know that with this most recent donation we had, we're actually going to redo the siding and the windows because the house is built in like 1948.
Mhm.
So there's a lot that needs to be done. We basically need it all. Like if some people want to donate a kitchen or appliances, we'd love that. We're going to try and keep the flooring in the living room, but the other flooring in the rest of the house will need to be done because we'll need to redo the bathrooms and it's just really old. That being said, we also need bathrooms for both rooms. And now a wish, not a want, is the back deck because the back deck currently, we're gonna have it inspected, but I don't think it's gonna pass inspection. So we have 2 choices. We can tear it out, which is fine, or we can rebuild it, and then that is, where the ocean view is. And I know for me, when I was in heavy chemo, part of chemo, I think a lot of people don't realize is you get this assortment of medication alongside the actual chemo that's administered. One of those medications often is steroids. It's kind of what keeps you alive. And it is really, really a brutal medication to take. And what I found when I was in chemo, it was just hard to sit still because I had that feeling rushing through my body where I needed to move, but I was so fatigued I couldn't actually go for a walk. So small movements going from the bedroom to the living room to the back deck is actually huge. It makes such a difference in how comfortable you are because um you can't sit still. At one point I was so fatigued I had to have my husband hold my arm while I walked down the hallway because I couldn't lay down and I couldn't sleep. So just having that ability to move through the house, I think would be really beautiful.
Mm, okay. So we're gonna build the deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll get there.
Oh,
Everyone's been so
yeah,
generous.
for sure. 100%. 100%. I'm flooded with shivers, so it's happening. Oh, you're such a gift, Carly, truly. I don't know how you do it. I've already said that, but, yeah, thank you
Can
for
I
you
share how I do it? I'd love to share
Yes,
how I do
that was
it.
a question I was gonna ask you. How do you do it?
I have an incredible support system, and I absolutely let go of every single thing in my life that wasn't going downstream, that wasn't joyful or easy for me to do.
Mhm,
And it had to be joyful and easy. If it was joyful and hard, I couldn't do it. If it was hard but joyful, I couldn't do it. I had to let go of everything. And that was like a big ego breaking down too, because
mhm,
that meant um relinquishing leadership roles in my business, my real estate team. That meant reconfiguring the whole team. My husband ended up getting his real estate license in the summer in chemo just so he could support my business. And I'm still not 100%. And I don't know if I'll ever go back to like truly running it because it's not downstream for me.
mhm,
That meant like the amount of working out that I did or how I walked or where I walked, the food I ate, everything had to be joyful and easy.
mhm,
So it seems like I'm doing a lot more, but I'm actually completely stripped down in what I'm doing every day.
mhm. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So if it's not bringing you joy, you delegate. How has that been in terms like you mentioned the ego, I can imagine, prior to this, you were the boss babe doing the things. How was it for you to start to, recognize what wasn't serving you and starting to delegate?
Well, it was a whole, year-long process. Um, and honestly, it felt really easy because when we get faced with like our mortality in like a really real way, it just starts to strip away on its own. It's like even if I wanted to hang on to things, they wouldn't work out for me. Like I would say, okay, I'm gonna come back to the office and I'm gonna do this. And then bam, I would get sick and I wouldn't be able to leave the house for a week. Okay, thank you. I hear you loud and clear. Like, I will chill out on that?
Right.
So, when you're sick, you slowly just have to start really succumbing to the everything, like the moment in front of you. You can only go moment by moment. And when I zoom out and I think, okay, let's say I think I'm going to live a long time, but let's say, according to the statistics, I'm dead in 5 years. When I look back on this day and this moment with Megan Weir, am I gonna feel like it was a joyful and valuable hour in my life? Or am I gonna look back and go, "Man, I really dreaded that for the days leading up. I didn't really go." Then when I was there, it felt off. And then subsequently, maybe soothed afterwards by scrolling TikTok and eating food that didn't serve my body. It 1 hour ends up being a whole week,
Mm.
right? And so because I didn't have that experience with this, I'm gonna look back and go, I showed up authentically. I did the best I could. It was joyful. It felt easy. And I'll be happy with that life review.
Mm. Beautiful. Profound. Let's talk about the fit checks
Ooh, this is so
because
frivolous.
fit checks, for those that don't know, share what fit check was all about. That's when I learned who you were and what you were navigating, and that's why I was like, "Who is this woman? I wanna meet her."
The fit checks are hilarious. The origin story is hilarious. So, as a real estate agent in a small city, I have my Instagram and my Facebook, and it's all very like, I'm a realtor. And then I opened this like secret TikTok that I literally like would say to the universe, I don't want anyone I know to follow me on TikTok because this is mine and mine alone. And it's none of your business. It's for everyone else, not my hometown honeys, you know? And I would just get on TikTok every day and do fit checks, literally. And I just would show my little outfits. I'm not like a fashion girl. Like, I do love fashion, but I'm not like a super stylist, like, lady. I just like clothes and it's fun for me. And the whole purpose of fit checks was joy
Mm.
and nothing else. There was nothing I was trying to gain, nothing I was trying to earn. I wasn't trying to get more friends. It was literally just for me. And so some of them I would get brave and I'd post on like my Instagram stories and hashtag fit check or going on showings or whatever my hashtags would be. And so when I was diagnosed, Tina, who knows me pretty well, knew I was doing these fit checks. And she created this whole campaign with the Nanaimo Hospital Foundation where we would encourage everyone to go on social media and use the hashtag fit check for cancer. And then another company in town called Rise Aesthetics would donate $1 for every time the hashtag fit check was used. And the culmination of the fit check was absolutely insane because we contributed to a $2.9 million campaign, in the fastest campaign in Nanaimo hospital history. So we raised the most amount of time in the shortest most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Um, the foundation got tons of exposure. All these people, like 30s and 40s, that didn't really have the hospital on their radar, now knew about it. So the exposure was huge. And it was all from like the most frivolous, girly thing ever. And I'm so incredibly proud of that because I think oftentimes these campaigns, fundraisers can be like a beer and a burger or a golf tournament. And it's so rooted towards like men's business
Mhm.
and men in general. And this was so unapologetically feminine, and we kicked ass. Like, it was awesome.
Seriously kicked ass. That's so cool. I didn't know the backstory about the TikTok, so that's even better. And bless Tina for running with it, hey?
Well, and that was incredibly brave on her part because it was innovative. They
Mhm.
Nanaimo Hospital Foundation and a lot of hospital foundations are typically more conservative in their how they show up in the community, and rightfully so. There's nothing wrong with that. So this was a whole new side to the hospital foundation, and the response was incredible. And women in our community care and want to know how to show up, and and it wasn't even fashion girlies. We had someone who was moving. They had moving trucks. They're like, "Here's my moving outfit." Like, so it wasn't about being perfect, right? It was just
Yeah.
about showing up, and it was just so I can't say enough about Tina and the Hospital Foundation here.
Mm.
If you have any inclination, and you know this, Megan, if you have any inclination to be a part of the Hospital Foundation, they're so inclusive, they're so welcoming, and they're progressive in how they approach people as individuals and the community. I just love can't say enough good things about them.
I agree. Yeah, what they're doing for our community is phenomenal, and I can't even imagine what your experience was like in Japan compared to what it is in Nanaimo Hospital, and, I'm grateful that we have individuals like yourself and everyone in the community that is a part of the foundation to move that needle forward, you know?
Well, I can tell you, Megan, I'm really lucky that I got sick in Japan, and I won't say who, but I had one of the higher ups, at the hospital tell me directly that, the difference between me getting sick in Japan and Nanaimo was probably the difference between life and death.
Oh my goodness.
And I just I want I like being unserious, but I wanna have that really serious moment because that's how important the work is with the hospital.
Yeah.
They're not equipped. The machines are failing. The hospital is overrun by at least 100 people every single day. If
Mhm,
you have an emergency, it's hard to get into emergency.
mhm.
It's a really big deal.
It is.
Japan is a public hospital. They were never at capacity on the floor I stayed in the entire 2 weeks, not one time.
Mm. Even I remember you sharing at the International Women's Day, like, the nutrition that you received at the hospital compared to what is given here in Nanaimo is not even comparable either, is it?
The food was all whole foods, it was
Mm,
really well prepared, that it was yeah, it was they but Japan has a very strong philosophy around nutrition. It's really rooted in their culture. It begins when they're really young with cooking whole foods, multiple courses at each meal, balanced diet. Yeah, so that it was really good.
yeah. I won't get into the politics of all that, but I mean, the food is medicine, right? And, I mean, I worked in healthcare for a very long time as a nurse, so I
Mhm.
saw what we provided for our patients, and it's far from nutritious, to say the least, so
Yeah, which is
yeah.
so counterintuitive when you're at a hospital, to say the
Truly,
least.
truly, truly. Let's hear about your monthly circles that you're offering, and what does that look like, and why did you initiate that?
So the monthly circles is a journey. Okay, remember, I'm doing all this for the first time, so there's lots of learning. Um, I meditate every morning as just a part of my wellness practice, and it kind of came to me in a meditation. Part of why I think it sort of came to me was there's cancer groups in Nanaimo where you can get together and chat for a coffee. Sometimes that feels a little vulnerable as opposed to, like, going somewhere where there's only maybe 6 people. We kept it really small on purpose, and doing a meditation and then either journaling and sharing if you want, but, held in a space where we have group rules about confidentiality, not sharing other people's stories, and rules about not sharing advice. So the idea is that if you come and share your story about being in chemo, someone's not gonna jump in and go, "Well, when I was in chemo, I did this, so you should do that." Because if you've ever been in that situation and you're going through it and you're in it, that can be very overwhelming even when it's well-intentioned. So, it's meant to be a group, with a lot of boundaries. I plan on doing it with my friend Serena. She owns Golden Soul Sanctuary down in Old City Quarter. She's a new business owner and newer to Nanaimo. I highly recommend you go and check her out. She's has the biggest heart and the work she's doing there is incredible. She holds lots of other circles as well. Um, and so we're looking at moving that forward. We got the first one on the books. I was really excited. We were promoting it and I got really sick.
Mm, mhm.
So we canceled that one, and also, if I can be really vulnerable, nobody signed up. So those were 2 things. So we've got all the assets for it now, we're still really wanting to move forward with it. Now we're just waiting for the timing to feel right again.
Yep,
That one feels easy for me and joyful, so I think sometimes I still try to take on too much for what my body can do right now, and that's okay. I still think it will be a really worthwhile event, and I look forward to doing it in the future. And a portion of the proceeds will go to Carly's house. And we're also doing sliding scale. So if you're in active treatment, you can either do like no pay or like a very small amount as a gesture.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful. My goodness, my goodness. I could be here with you all day.
Mm.
So, I'm gonna put all of your details, including Instagram, on, in the show notes, but let's hear vocally how people can reach you and connect with you.
Well, let's start with my most vulnerable one, which is my TikTok,
Yes.
which is at Carly Carey Real Estate, which is also my Instagram at Carly Carey Real Estate. And my Facebook is just Carly Carey, and our website is Carey Real Estate Group. You can Google Carly's story, and our website will come up first.
Beautiful,
Yeah, or
beautiful,
Carly's
beautiful.
house, sorry.
Carly's house, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
And before we say goodbye for now, what is a message of hope that you could offer somebody who feels like quitting or throwing in the towel?
Honestly, if you feel like quitting, it's okay.
Mm,
We don't have to do everything. I wanted to quit chemo,
mm,
and that would have meant that I wouldn't have been in remission. There would have been serious consequences to that. But I took it one moment at a time,
mhm,
1 second at a time,
mhm.
and then another second. And I found small wins, like really small. Like I could drink water and not feel nauseous, or I sipped the water. Good job, Carly. You sipped the water. A win is a win.
Yeah.
Um, it I don't know. I don't know if that's hopeful or not. Hope is an interesting word.
Mhm.
I couldn't live without hope, but hope has a shadow side too. And so I think if you're looking for hope, you probably already know the answer within you on how to find it.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be here with you, Carly. Thank you for what you do, how you show up. You are truly such a bright light. And we are all blessed to know you and to have you, especially in our community here locally in Nanaimo.
Thank you, Megan. It was such an honor to be here today. I just love the work you're doing.
Thank you.